Connecting with God's heart for the world means that our hearts beat in unison with His. What is important to Him is important to Kathy and me. His burdens are our burdens.
Uniting in partnership with the Free Methodist Churches of the United States and with fellow believers allows us to do much more than we could ever begin to do on our own. Your prayer and financial commitments act like a pacemaker that keep our ministry's heart beating.
Art and Pat, we're just wondering, what does it look like to connect the heart of God to the world through the Bangkok churches?
We have our church member, she's the DJ of the community radio station. So she talked about the thing that I taught her on the pulpit, and then give witness to the people through the radio.
That's great.
So many people come to our church, and life is changed. And the way we show our lifestyle, we live in holiness, and we are the light of the world. So the way the people touch us, we see us different. And this is the way we reach out the heart of God.
We have some activities to meet the needs of the people in the community. We have a vocational training to train the people in that area so they can learn something at the church. And we have the other activities like the alternative education, because some people in Thailand, when they are in the age of studying, they are from the poor family and they cannot go to school.
God's heart beats for the Bangkok churches who are reaching out and into their community. God is burdened for Bangkok. Art and Pat, their hearts have joined God's heart, as have ours. Will you join what all our hearts are beating and burdened for? We invite you to pray and to give to Thailand Country Shares in support of what God is doing in Bangkok, Thailand. What does it look like to connect God's heart to the world through the work of Mission Thailand and the Board of Administration? As leaders, we connect by quieting ourselves in prayer, seeking to hear from the Lord and follow His heartbeat for Thailand.
The BOA of Thailand's Light and Life Foundation is responsible for ministry in and through the local churches in Bangkok and Chiang Mai. The BOA oversees the Jasmine Project, which rescues unborn babies, and the ICCM Lahu Youth Hostel in Chiang Rai Province, which protects children from being trafficked. Evangelism and discipleship are the hallmarks of the Free Methodist Church in Thailand, keeping the people's heart beating strong with the Lord's.
The heart of God is that none should perish. The Board of Administration is working to ignite the local church, seeing them mature and reproduce themselves through a contextualized community church planting effort.
The BOA's passion for the least, the last, and the lost truly connects with God's heart for the world, protecting the unborn, the young, and vulnerable from being trafficked, and discipling those attending the Bangkok and Chiang Mai churches keeps hearts beating strong with His.
What does it look like to connect to God's heart for the world through the Chiang Mai Free Methodist Church?
Well, you can connect certainly by praying for the church body in Chiang Mai. Would you remember Pastor Joshua and his wife An and their 3 daughters? Recently, Chutima, their eldest, graduated from a 2-year Bible college here in Chiang Mai. Now she's leading worship and helping with the youth at the church.
The Board of Administration of Mission Thailand and Free Methodist World Missions has approved a special project for the Free Methodist Church of Chiang Mai to raise funds for a ministry center. The church is looking to buy land and to actually build this center.
Earlier this year, the Chiang Mai Free Methodist Church lost their lease in the building they were meeting at. So for several months, we met in the carport at Pastor Joshua's home. It was exciting to see new people come even then. Since then, we're now at a hotel room, but we're maxing that room out. So the need really is great to have a place that Chiang Mai Free Methodist Church doesn't have to worry about losing in the future. You can have a part in growing the church in Chiang Mai by giving to this Extra Mile project. Thank you for your partnership with us and the Chiang Mai Free Methodist Church. I guess you can tell it's kind of near and dear to my heart. So what does connecting to God's heart look like through Community Bible Study International? I think the motto really says it all. Everyone in the world in the Word. And that has been our long-range goal 8 years ago when we started CBSI, was we wanted our Thai brothers and sisters to really be able to study God's Word and to understand it and grow in their walks with Him. Kun Wirapong from the Bangkok Free Methodist Church led a class for a full year. But
the lesson is grace for us.
Yes.
So I know that if any church or my friend interested, I will introduce about the CBSI lesson.
He used all of the materials that we have translated in Thai. So that is a great need. We need more translations of the CBSI materials in Thai. Appreciate you if you would pray for that need. In Chiang Mai, we have 2 women's classes going. There's also been a class meeting at Payap University amongst a group of students getting their linguist master's degree. So a lot is happening. We're also looking to start a children and youths class with children in our neighborhood this summer. So we're excited about it. We just finished studying Isaiah. Every time we complete a study, we say how good it is. There's never one that disappoints, and how could God's Word ever disappoint us? I just want to close with one verse from Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Be encouraged today and go get in the Word.
What does it look like to connect to God's heart for the world through Grace International School? It means school isn't an end in itself. It means Grace prepares young people to be disciples who live fully for God. School is a place where they discover what is on God's heart and then act accordingly. Over time, their heartbeat mimics His.
The school provides its students opportunities to serve throughout the community. The students learn to develop and refine their skills through regular participation in leadership and ministry activities. They minister in orphanages, they teach English in local Thai public schools, and they provide sports and leadership ministry in camps with displaced ethnic groups on the border of Thailand and Myanmar.
Students lead worship in weekly chapels. Some serve on student council, planning community activities, connecting God's heart to the world around them, both inside and outside the school.
God is using Grace's students to transform the culture in all spheres of life. Some will choose to come back overseas after graduating from college and become missionaries themselves. Some will work for NGOs. All are impacting their world for Christ. Others might take on careers and bring a Christian perspective and worldview that will transform the way people think and behave in their home countries.
God shows up through Grace International School and the students' lives in profound ways, revealing His heart for this world. Literally, our students shine His light and life to all those they come in contact with.
You can join us in connecting God's heart for the students at Grace and the impact they are having in and on their world by praying for them. Other ways you can connect to God's heart for the world at Grace are by giving to the school's capital campaign, or helping to build a classroom on our new campus by giving to a Free Methodist Extra Mile project, coming to serve as a teacher, or in one of the other many support staff roles. The school's website lists all current openings and opportunities to help.
God cares deeply for the children of missionaries, which makes up 90% of the Grace International School student body of almost 600 students. The other 10% are Thais who may or may not be Christian. God doesn't expect missionaries to sacrifice their children or their children's education on some spiritual altar of service in His kingdom. Children are a treasure to the heart of God. In fact, missionary kids are some of His favorites. To connect with God's heart for the world through Grace is to have a heartbeat, deeply loving these students and those they minister to in Thailand. What does connecting God's heart to the world through the Lahu Youth Project look like? Human trafficking is a big problem in Thailand. In fact, it's a form of modern-day slavery.
The reality is that ethnic minorities and stateless people in Thailand are at a much greater risk for being trafficked than Thai nationals. The Lahu children represent one of the many ethnic minorities that are stateless people living in northern Thailand. Because of the risk for these children of being picked up and trafficked, walking long distances to school from their remote villages, a safe living arrangement has been provided. This includes transportation from school and ensures the 20 children living at the hostel will not become a human trafficking statistic.
You can connect with God's heart for the world on this issue of human trafficking by praying about the demand factors that are deeply rooted in Thai cultural attitudes, economic interests, and legal policies that support the infamous Thai prostitution industry.
When a person lacks citizenship, they are vulnerable to being trafficked. Trafficking people is a complex issue requiring the Lord's wisdom for policymakers. Kevin Austin with the Set Free Movement and the International Child Care Ministries are two Free Methodist groups who work together closely to create and sustain the Lahu Youth Hostel. We encourage you to check out both groups' websites, learning how you might join the heartbeat of these organizations as well.
God's heart is for the disenfranchised. His heart, it beats for these children. His heart is burdened for them. What's your heart beating and burdened for? What does connecting to God's heart for the world look like through the Jasmine Project? Unborn children and their mothers in culturally dishonorable circumstances, they're given hope. Of the 8 children rescued, 5 have stayed with their mothers, and there are 3 that remain at Jasmine.
A recent study revealed that there were 130,000 adolescent women that became pregnant in Thailand this last year. That's 356 pregnancies a day.
We connect God's heart to these women, families, and ultimately the unborn babies when great efforts are made to provide options that rescue innocent children, as well as providing loving support for their mother.
So how do you connect? Of course, prayer is life-giving. Pray for these women to see other options. Pray that they would consider keeping the baby through birth and even parenting the child with their supportive families instead of having an abortion and possibly even selling their child. Of course, funding is necessary for prenatal care, labor and delivery, diapers and supplies, utility bills for their housing, as well as for the staff who are the caregivers of the young moms and also their babies. Sometimes the moms need education for they're so young they haven't finished high school. Jasmine is a part of Zion Land, where several teams have come over to help improve the facilities and serve the local community. Does that get your heart beating? I hope so. Volunteering could also be an opportunity, and should the Lord lead, to expand the ministry of the Jasmine Project.
In some circles in Thai society, an unborn child conceived in questionable circumstances would be considered a throwaway. Connecting with the heart of God for the sake of the women and these unborn children is to see these babies rescued from being aborted and seeing women not held captive to guilt and shame for the rest of their lives. The Jasmine Project is a ministry to the least, the last, and the lost.
God's heart beats for these children in the womb and for their mothers who are between a rock and a very hard place culturally. His heart is burdened for them. What is your heart beating and burdened for?
Sports leadership has enabled me to gain some experience that I would not have been able to elsewhere. Here we go and set up English camps for the kids. We help plant trees. We also do sport camps to help further their knowledge and education, but also to help them learn a little bit more about Jesus Christ.
I'm a firm believer in helping missionary kids find their own personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And one of the joys of my class is that I give them real practical ways of serving and being selfless.
Sports leadership is a great opportunity for students who so often focus only on themselves or the circles around them to go out and touch the world, to teach kids how to love Jesus, to have fun with them, to play with them, and even to plant trees and move cinder blocks. It just creates a servant's heart, and it causes you to have to continually empty yourself so that Christ can fill you with His strength and all that He wants you to do.
One of the best things I loved about Grace was the sports leadership, and coming back a few years after I graduated, I love being able to see that the students are still being involved in kids' lives, and they take trips up to villages like this one that we're at right now, and they just invest in their lives, and they come back year after year and make relationships and really impact the people up here.
One of the joys of the class is how we partner with other agencies. We partner with missionaries and mission agencies here in Chiang Mai, but also we're partnering with agencies now and businesses outside of Thailand. For example, Chick-fil-A have seen our students in action. They came on a trip, were so impressed, and now we have a full-fledged partnership with Windshape International. When they come to Thailand, they come to Grace, and we help them do their projects wherever that may be. Our students are learning what it is to serve in the community.
You can have a part in this ministry by supporting Kathy and me through our missionary support account and the Extra Mile project that will help to build classrooms at Grace International School. Kathy and I want to thank you for your partnership as we work together to see God's kingdom built in Southeast Asia through the Free Methodist Church and specifically through our ministry at Grace International School. God bless you.